Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, look like we made it. all present and accounted for. Had one of the military flashbacks right there. But present and counted for. Praise Yah, hallelujah. Well, we are ready to build on tonight. Trying to get those things together. Let me slip this in here. Okay, I think we lost one. I'm sure he'll be back. He's working with it. We always it wouldn't be the same if we couldn't work with it. Is that right? I think we'll be right here. So there we go. He's popping back in now. He's giving us a different view. Let me include him in here. See if we can get him right in there. There you go. All right, give you a chance to sit up, my brother, and welcome everybody that's in the room. Everybody that may be joining us live. And then, of course, if you begin to see this a little later as well, may it kind of build you up. And we are in a place where, let me try to find something here real quick. We're in a place where we're just going to, okay, let me get that. I was trying to find something here. All right, let me go solo with this for a minute. We're going to talk about building a community and then yet building one another, because you know that this is our, sort of our vision and our mission and the purpose and really what the Father desires for us. So not only say ours, but everyone that's really want to share the things of the Father. I think that one time of unity and everything else, this must be some of the things that's at the forefront, not the only thing. But if we can get these things handled, I think we would really build a powerful community. So, and we know that that's what the Torah is all about, building the community. And we are continuing to walk in, try our best to go back into walking this ancient path, and so this is something that was dearly, I said, I never really kind of looked at it, and maybe we can break it down and give us a chance to look at it. And so we'll take, one by one and kind of go through it and see where it ends. Of course, we'll have another session, but according to how long it go, I do want to eventually get through each one. So some may be longer than others, it's according to how we put it together. But truly, I wanted to, open this up and get us to kind of realize and understand and give us some power up situations to make sure that the community is very important. I think, again, that it is so important, that yes, you can survive off of some things, but if you want the true nourishment, going from the true sap of the tree, truly, this would be it, right? These will be some of the things that we have. And I'm so glad that you gentlemen are here, that we can build on this and be able to find those things out. So it is very, very important in that, and we're looking for those things to happen. So so grateful for the for the day, each and every day. I think each time I open my eyes once again, I'm giving thanks in that truly I have another opportunity to share my heart with the Most High and to be an example, and that's what we all should be, an example unto Him in that. We're gonna definitely. I want to be able to open it up. I have a scripture here, but before let me see if I can. I didn't really open this other one. If I can open this up, then we can probably jump in here and really see what's going on. If I can somehow share my screen here, and in that. Alrighty, okay, that came up there. And if we can get to that particular scripture, I wanted to just echo Matthew chapter 5. And The 46 was something that was it 46? I don't know. Yeah. You know, we're gonna deal. Okay, the first one we will deal with on tonight, of course, will be in the head of this is the fact that how we going to. Let me probably move it up this way, and then we'll be able to build on this, of course, and how we're gonna do it. Okay. We, of course, when we do this, and we all say this at the assembly together, and so I know we should be familiar with at least saying it, if nothing else, right? So it said that we always would say we will love, right, and accept one another. So it's a we will, and then it goes from we will to I will, right? I will love and accept one another. Okay, this is something that we're going to do. Is we're going to accept one another, and those things are very, very important in that. And I had echoed Matthew chapter 5. And one of the things, not the only thing. Now, when you're dealing with love and all of that, and maybe we'll deal with the Hebrew word and things, Yehoshua will bring that out. But one of the things is if you love those loving you, you know, and that always sticks with me from time to time. What reward have you? And then, of course, it said, are the tax collectors not doing the same to you? So that really, really, really brings it out. You know, that really brings it out when I'm thinking about love. So when we come back, say to the community and think about those things, it's definitely the same thing in that is what how we really building on that. So gentlemen, I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump right in there. When you think about the community, thinking about being in covenant with the Father, and you're thinking about love, and then we attach accept one another. Now, what you know in your mind, this is where we're going at, right? Because we want to be able to open it up in the sense of there is a something that you can come from your heart on, not so much of a wrong or a right, because we can build on this, you know. In our scriptures, you know, it's used well over 200 or 300 times. I know in different contexts and all of that. So we just want to bring it out, jump in there, and then see how we will end up in that and encouraging one another and building up one another in that. All right, Jedediah, if you wanted to come up and just express yourself on that, just the opening on love and accept one another and what. And if you have another scripture, that's fine. That's one of mine. And so if you build on other scriptures, that's well and good. There's many that we can build on. So I don't want to think you just restricted to that particular Matthew 5, my brother.
Oh, yes, sir. Um, Shalom and all praise to the Most High.
Hallelujah. All praise it.
I love this topic, Elder, because this this has become very important to me, especially where I'm at in my life and in my walk, and understanding the importance of a community. Because I feel like for a long time that I was taught that you don't need people, and even myself, I was a loner. I didn't want to be around other people. I felt like I didn't need people. Uh, and, obviously coming into this walk and understanding, like how you spoke about the ancient path, that goes against that type of ideology. We've always had a community. And one of the scriptures I did want to share was Ecclesiastes 4:9.
Okay.
And I remember just dealing with not this particular scripture, but scriptures like this and how it shows the importance of having someone with you when
Mm-hmm.
you are in this walk. We work at job. At our job, we can't do everything by ourselves. So it's like, why would we think that we can walk this thing out of the Father by ourselves? You know, and I was reading this. It's Ecclesiastes 4, in verse 9, it says, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. So then again, we'll go back to our job. How is it that we can engage in our workforce? Like let's take a simple job like I remember working at a restaurant. There's no way that I can deal with 30 customers by myself. I need someone there to help me. And in this walk, I found that I need people there to help me and to build me in the things of the Father. In verse 10, it says, for if they fall, one lifts his companion up. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him. Imagine that.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know,
That's good.
when you dealing with this walk and you walking the things out of the Father, it is very important to have someone there to help keep you accountable in the things of the Father. And I love the verse 11. Also, if two lie down together, they keep warm. But how does one keep warm by himself?
Yes,
It
yes.
doesn't work that way, and I just love this metaphor because it's telling us that we need each other. And I understand, and with throughout the dispersion, and, we've been scattered, but the Father has a remnant that's waking up, and it's a good thing for us to be in a community and to serve Him together.
Yes.
And the love that you get when you're in a community is like no other. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh
ever
yeah.
since I've been in this walk, the love don't even mean the same thing for me anymore. It's on a whole nother level because I throughout this walk, for the most part, I've had genuine people that I've dealt with who truly love me. People who I can look at and say, yes, that person will lay their life down for me.
Absolutely. All right, all right. That's good. I think that the scripture that you brought out, two is better than one. And of course had a little teaching on that one. We did a power up or a teaching or somewhere, and that's always something that's in my heart because I know how true that is, and we all need someone, in that, even in the early things of Bereshit, Genesis, in the earliness of this, it was always two, right? It was always two. Two is always and will be continue to all times be better than one. So you never have to feel alone. In that, never have to feel alone. All right, my brother, Joshua, you wanna come on up and elaborate on what's in your heart?
Praise Yah. Kol
Praise God.
hakavod. All praise and glory to the Most High
Praises.
Yah.
Yes.
Uh, oh, boy, you can't do that to me. So, but yes, all praises to the Most High Yah. And I just want to thank the Father and thank you for letting me be on here with you and my wonderful brother here. It's funny, you took the script. I was just thinking about that one, and you really brought that out. We do need each other. And I like the verse that you selected here, Morey, from Matthew, and that's kind of been something that is really interesting in the sense of like the Messiah is expecting more than us because he puts it in the context of if you love those loving you, what reward is that? And then obviously we know tax collectors were not liked, very unlikable people, it seemed. But he's saying that these people who you don't like, are they not loving each other the same way you are loving one another? So it just really seems like he's expecting us to love each other on a caliber that's in that area of what we would call extraordinary or more, like that whole extra mile. And when I think about the word love, like you were hinting at the ahav or ahava, the verb form of love, it's really, if I were to put it in my own words, I'd say it's really about gifting one another the service that you offer,
Oh, awesome,
with
awesome.
nothing in return, nothing in return, in the sense that I'm doing this act, or I'm giving you what my hands, my feet, my heart, my pocketbook, whatever it is, can offer you as a
Mm-hmm.
gift, and I'm the bearer of that. Um, which is really interesting because the word for love linguistically is also linked to the word burden, and we know there's some scriptures like that. It
Mm-hmm.
talks about bearing one another's burdens. So, and that one's coming from Galatians 6:2. Bear one another's burdens so that you complete the Torah of Messiah. And I think if there's one verse that really sums this up, well, three technically, in Romans 12, verses 9 through 10, it says, let love be without hypocrisy. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what Yeshua was bringing out. He's like, what are you expecting? Then it says, shrink from what is wicked, cling to what is good. So that
Mm-hmm.
means I cannot love people in an evil nature. It has to be what is good. And then it says, in brotherly love, tenderly loving one another, um, in appreciation, giving preference to one another. And that was something that we were even talking about on the Shabbat. So loving one another, I'm giving you the best. I'm letting you have the choice. And
Right.
then I'm freely doing it. And in doing so, it says I'm not idle in duty, but I'm ardent in spirit, serving the master. So with love, I can't be hypocritical. I can't seek my own desire. I need to put others before myself. And in doing so, I may present this extraordinary gift of me to the person I want to serve, and letting them not use me, but yet I'm willing to encourage them, listen to them, and also uplift them to bring out the best that they have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think with love, that's really the goal. And like my brother was saying, it's not something you do in a corner. You need someone that has your back. A brother, a sister, a relative, a friend, a mentor, whatever the case may be. You can serve anybody. You can even serve your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Absolutely.
think that with that, that's what the master is trying to encourage us. The people who you don't like, let's see you love them too. You know, and I think we're
Absolutely.
all capable of that.
Yes, it's a difficult role, but we can do it, And like you were saying, that how, the world may present one thing versus those of us that are in covenant with the Father. And I think that's where the challenge comes in, that is everybody has a concept of when we say LOVE, everybody has that concept. But we know that in the culture and in the things of the Father, we know what that means, right? So it's the same thing, is the attachment. We said that we would love it, it supersedes that. Now it would be in a context, but I always sometimes, when I'm dealing with it, is my love for everyone. I have to go run everything through love, no matter what I do and no matter who I encounter. If love is not forefront in what I'm about to do here, then it would be something of selfishness, or it would be something that really is coming from me, the I, right? Because automatically love, when I put love in the forefront, it's going to already be about the person, right? Whoever it is. Because out of that can come compassion. Out of that is going to come how I handle different situations. So everyday life, and that's one of the things that we'll deal with too, is everyday life. How does that look? And so we'll take it off the page and then begin to put it in our everyday life. And I found out, I know it's not the most popular thing for us to live it. It's more easier to study it, right? We have the right words, we have the right sentence, we have the right scriptures. But if we don't apply them, then there's no power in the community. And that's what we want. We want the power to be in the community, right? And then it has to be with one another, right? It has to be with one another. And that's kind of how we go down our list. And we will see that as we go through this, that it's one another. It happens not only it's not one sided, it's not one person, but it is one to another. I call it one another in one to another. It, and so it cannot be one-sided. So the same thing when I introduce myself, or when I encounter something, it always have to be come through the eyes, because that is righteous judgment. When I come through the eyes of love, it's always going to be right. When I get ready to encounter this, it's going to be love, and in that, because I can go through a lot of emotions according to what the situation is, right? And it takes practice. It hadn't always been like that. So when somebody you driving, and this is every day, right? We're talking about bringing it up every day. When somebody driving to cut you off, I have to take that through love, because if I don't, I may track them down. I may, tell them that they're number one. I may do a lot of things, right? But if I run it through love, right, my emotions, because of the danger by them cutting me off, that's what my emotions gets into, that, right? It's getting into it because it a danger. You can hurt me, you can hurt, say if my wife is with me and all of those, or whoever's with me, right? I think that's what really gets us is, man, you ought to be more careful, because you can hurt someone. And I think most time that's what we come from. Why are you driving like that, or you cutting me off like that? But in order for me not to track you down, in order for me not to, you pull over, without for me to draw some weapon or something, I have to realize that all of this has to go through love. It has to go through love. And I think sometimes me and my wife, we be driving and somebody do something, and we have a little joking sometimes about, well, why would they do that? Well, it's like, oh, they didn't really see us. So sometimes we jokingly give them the benefit of the doubt, in that. But it does take practice, because I have not been always like that. I would track you down if you and you cut me off according to what it is, or how I'm feeling, or the emotional when I left the house. All of these things. I left work, and the work didn't go good, and you go cut me off, and that was the last thing. So a lot of it, and I know it's difficult, because we haven't sort of been taught these things. We talk where to go find it, but we don't know how to use it. So we have to run it through love, and it could look differently in different things. Sometimes it can be firmness. Firmness is not a lack of love. Telling you the truth in firmness is not a lack of love, right? And so, sometimes it can be, kind of timid in what you're doing in different things, but it's not a lack of love. But if someone don't know how to really practice, and this is what we're going to have to start doing, is practice to run that through love, because what I'm about to encounter, I want to be able to run it through love. And then when I handle those situations like that, then the person, the other person has a opportunity. I start them at a fair point. If I was using it, it's sort of like I had went. We do different things. I might have seen it, but we went to a restaurant, and one time I told them, well, not them per se, telling them, I start everybody off. I'm just going to say this, use a number. I'm going to use a number 10, right? I say, I start everybody off at $10. Now you earn it, right? So each time you can go down, they can go down to 7, go down to 5, according how your service is, right? So this is the same thing. If I use that same analogy, it don't have to be the only one. It's just something that's in my head, and maybe it'll be beneficial for you. If I start everybody else off as a 10, then you make it where you gonna be, right? I still love you, but love always calls me to start you out as a 10, right? And so now, according to how you interact with me and all of that, you can bring yourself down. You're not bringing my love down, but you are bringing the relationship, the one another in, down in that, right? So if everybody started everybody off as a 10, it's easier to maintain a 10 when you do that. But if one start out at a 10, and then the other one don't feel that same way, and they don't take it through the things of love, then that could be a problem. taking it through the eyes of love, or taking it through this illustration that I'm trying to give, is the fact that when you do that, you always start them at the top. So our scriptures tell us we always elevate somebody more highly than ourselves. And it's a reason for that, right? Because that'll keep me from thinking I'm always above you, right? I'm always, above you in that. But when I take you through that, like I say again, is in our relationship, you already start out as a 10. The only thing you have to do is to maintain that 10. Now I'm not attaching, when I say 10, I'm not attaching my love. Now I only love you 9%, or I only love you at an 8. I only love, no. The love is still there, but I'm just trying to say in relationship, it's still there because that's what's going to be able to bring you back up, is because I love you. Say maybe you drop to a 5, or maybe you drop to a 3. My love is still a 10. Our relationship can vary going back and forth on that. That's the reason some people can be more closer together, have things in common, and all of those things. That's what I'm trying to use for that, if I did not make that clear. Hopefully we're not totally confused right now, but that's where I'm trying to go in that, right? And so now what I want you gentlemen to do is, because the other half of this, it says accept one another, right? It says love one another, accept one another. Now that acceptance, now in this day and time, that can really be broad, right? So now we won't have the whole answer today, but we want to try to figure out, okay, what does that mean when it's attached to love? What does accept one another mean, right? In our hearts, what does that mean in our hearts? And maybe what the Father is trying to portray to us in that. So brother Jedediah, if you want to come up and try to give us some good stuff on accepting one another. Praise God.
I do love how you separated the difference between what the world has to say about acceptance and how we're trying to view it, because their acceptance it's I'm gonna call it what it is. It's madness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way over there. But when I'm thinking about acceptance, is I go into the relationships that I had, with Aki Yehoshua and many other brothers and sisters that I have dealt with in my walk. It's just, even when we don't see the same thing, we don't see things the same. I can still accept you and love you. I don't have to walk away from you just because we're not seeing certain things the same. And when we
Right.
find ourselves in those differences, it's just like that's when you really gonna know who your brother and who your sister is. Because those differences can divide people, but it's like I don't want division over something that's small. So it's when I'm looking at certain things, can I accept what you are bringing to our relationship? And most of the time, when it's someone within the covenant, it's going to be yes. As long as we ain't dealing with, no foolishness or anything, of course, what I'm saying, I'm going to embrace you. And then maybe one day I will be able to understand or accept why you believe something this way, why you do things this way. Or maybe, I can be that light to you for you to realize what you are doing and believing is not on par. So that's why when I look at acceptance, it's just holding each other, closer rather than always trying to push each other away for the most smallest things that don't amount up to really anything. And my relationship with Yehoshua has been like that. Since I first met him, I'm just like, man, I'm getting something way different than what I've gotten. And I had to like put my emotions aside and just try, to build a relationship with him, because I knew at that time that I was dealing with someone different, and I was willing to accept that. Because when we have something that's different, and when we have something that's not of what we consider the norm, a lot of people are ready to walk away because that's the easy path to take, you
Right,
know.
right.
And it's something that I was always talking, you always take the path of least resistance. Well, not always,
Right,
especially when you're
right.
dealing with your brothers and your sisters.
That's
It
good.
may be some things that we can build on. And hopefully one day I see things your way, you'll see things my way. And I understand why you do things the way you do, and you'll understand why I do the things I do.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful. I think that was awesome. I mean, you brought out some very good points. Very good points. All right, my brother.
Oh man, I agree, my brother. There is definitely a lot, and just to comment on what you had said earlier, there, Maury, it really lined up, and I think Jedediah grasped upon the same thing I picked out of that is, I think sometimes it depends on the person you're dealing with, because some people they bring up things to how can I say they'll do things you agree with. So sometimes people bring things up so that you accept them and agree with them, even if it's wrong, or even if it goes against the truth. And I think that's a little bit different than what we have in the way of the Father. We only want to pursue what is good. We only want to go after what is going to be encouraging to one another. So when I'm thinking about acceptance, accept one another, what I'm thinking about sometimes is that we have to learn how to de-escalate situations.
Yeah.
Because just like my brother was bringing up, that's the de-escalation tactics. Him and I, we've had to go and share different things, go over different opinions. There was times where I was so caught up in my feelings about a particular idea that I overlooked the truth of it. And then Jedediah would be real smooth with it, be like, "Was that what that says?" I like to be like, "You know what, brother? Yeah, you're right. Let me take another look at it and just accept things for what they are." So when I'm thinking about accepting one another, there are matters that people stand in their belief, and then there's matters that people stand in and they consider it truth. And that could be a real sketchy situation to get caught up in because some people esteem their belief higher than anything. So, we got to pick our battles. And Maury, you've always taught me that, pick my battles. And I just said it to my wife today. He's like, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them,
Right there.
because it's like, you got to really pick. Is this worth bringing up right now in accepting my brother, my sister, my relationship? Is this worth bringing up? Because if I bring this up right now, am I going to build or am I just going to get myself caught in what we call a lose-lose situation? So we got to pick. And when I'm thinking about de-escalation, strength and anger are two different things. And like what you were bringing out, Moray, I think it was more along the side of strength. What you were saying, firmness. So being strong in something isn't the same as being angry, but the individuals sometimes get them mixed up. So in acceptance of one another, that could be something that we really need to take a look at, because when someone is showing strength and being firm, that could be coming from lots of good places. That could be coming from concern. It could be coming from
Right.
compassion.
Good,
It
good.
could be coming from wanting the best for you, maybe having more knowledge or insight than the person who's in the situation can perceive about themselves. Versus anger, sometimes it's just like, you didn't live up to my expectation or you let me down. So there's a difference there. And I think in accepting one another, we have to see the difference. And like you said earlier, Moray, it's in, I think it's Philippians 2:3. It's talking about consider others better than yourself. So we need to make rooms for mistake, because we're gonna make mistakes. Mistakes are not a lack of perfection in the individual. What it is it's an opportunity for growth. We're gonna make mistakes. We're not gonna live up to everyone's expectations at times, and sometimes we're not gonna voice our assumptions, and then something's not going to go according to the desire we wanted, and what we may have considered the best. Looks like JD hit the ejector button, but
Well, he there. All right.
oh, okay. And I just think that let in accepting one another, we need to do really this one right here. I think is key, and it's remembering everything for the best and not the worst.
Right.
Because if
Good,
we
good.
start remembering things towards the good, and lifting things up, like what my brother was saying just then. There's been plenty of times, like, we were trying to figure this thing out. We were trying to figure out matters of the word, deep things that, between us and even other brothers. And it could get heated real easy. But, when we get in those places, we've learned to really remember who we're dealing with. This is my brother. This is my family. We love each other. So even if we don't see eye to eye right now, let us wait about it. Let's not offend one another. Let's just learn how to accept each other in these differences. And then, like he even had said, I agree with, over time, these matters can be revealed. Because we could show up at the assembly together, and then next thing you know, there's the answer we were looking for, and we couldn't figure it out. But we had to let it marinate, as people say. And I just think sometimes it does better for us to just be honest. I think that's the key with accepting one another. If someone feels the way they feel, that's fine. Let them feel that way. Let them express themselves that way. But then once that individual has let their themselves be known in that place, they also must accept that that's how the other person sees them. So sometimes we just got to learn how to balance those things out. And it's really good. I think accepting one another and having patience with one another is definitely key with long-term relationships.
Absolutely, outstanding. Yeah, y'all hitting it out of the park. I think that one of the things, like the acceptance, like you guys are saying, and what came to mind. I think you guys, deal with it every day, and that's because the children that you guys have. I think I would be right that each one of them are different. Is that right? Right? Each one of them are different. But number one, they already granted the fact that they're your children. But the fact is, you have accepted them the way that they are, and now you're trying to mold them into a place of the things of the Father, of course. But by molding them, all of them will do something differently. They'll all do that. But you have accepted them the way that they are, and then you will do your best to try to refine that which you can as parents, and when we dealing with one another, we may not be always in the parenting side, but we realize that each of us is different, and we I can't cut you out and do all that because you don't think like me, you don't move like me, you don't walk like me, you don't talk like me, you don't do like you we have to be able to accept those things, because if we don't, nobody can grow, right? We won't be able to grow with one another. So I have to accept that. We have to have a point of acceptance, right? Because now what I'm doing is I took it through love. And when I take it through love, that's automatically attached. We'll find out as we going through this, and I see that this is going to be probably more than we'll keep going in this particular series until we go through the whole thing. I'm not gonna rush through this, but I if I put the love in front, everything's attached to that, is what I was going to say. All the things that we'll go through in this list, when we're talking about praying for one another, tell the truth to each other, be kind, and all of that, and we'll see, of course, in 13 of Corinthians, we'll see some of those things, but it's attached to that. If the love is not in the forefront, you're not going to be able to function. When we get down, forgive one another. You can't. None of those things. You have to have those things, and that was the heart. It's the heart of that, right? And so to accept one another. So the acceptance there doesn't mean you have to be my same size. You can be taller than me, shorter than me. You can have live in a different area. All of that, you can have those things. But the acceptance is the relationship that we have. Especially when then, if you're married or whatever, you have to accept those things. Some of those things you just gonna have to accept. That's just the way that it is. And I know many times, when I first went into this, I wouldn't accept it. I tried to change it before I tried to accept it. And what I should have done is accept it, not to change it, because that's the way it is. It's difficult to change someone, right? In that, Said, oh, that's all right. I can change that. I want you to be that the way. And I can't, sometimes we can't understand why the person not changing, because you want them to change the way that you want them to change too. Right. And so sometimes it's very difficult because they don't know where you trying to go in that. Right. So it has to be an acceptance, because they'll never be really what you feel that the person of your wife or your husband should be, right? They never would be there. Somewhere you're going to have to accept that. And that's when the love is attached to that, until you can get to the next level. So wherever some people, when we're talking about in our communities and everything, wherever people are at, then you have to accept them right there, and then hopefully that they will grow out of it, And when I say grow out of it, I'm talking about grow to the good. If you think that that's not where they should be at, And so be careful though, because we always want people to line up with Torah, right? So we with the scriptures, we want them to line up with these things, not on how I feel, right? But how I think someone ought to act. But we should put it in such a way as a desire that through the, we'll say we'll say personality, through your personality, this is how we can walk, and this is how we can do thus and such, right? In that, so it's very important. So sometimes, just for an example, sometimes people just gonna be late. That's just gonna be in them. You would desire for them to be, say, on time, but some people are just late, right? And so you want to apply that love. You want them to be on time, but sometimes they just late. That's just the way that may not never change, right? In that, and so those are the things that you have to have the love and the patience and accept that, right? And then if they do not adjust to being on time, then I will adjust for them to be late. You understand? Then the relationship is good, right? That relationship. So even though they say, okay, I'll be there at such and such, I know I'm already give them some mercy. I'm already know, okay, that's 15 minutes. Whatever time they sit, that's 15 minutes later, right? In order for it to work, and that's just an example, and you can fill in the blank in different things, is sometimes everyone doesn't have to come and see it the way that you see it. Sometimes to accept something is to accept you the way you are at that point. Now, if you was a person that said, I need help with my time and all of that, I'm always late at work. Every time I'm always, and then they have steps at work. I know Jedediah use it a lot, that they might write you up, and then whatever their policy is before they, take something very, very at risk to the fact that you may be fired. So sometimes they give you the in between. But if you never want that be on time, then those are going to be consequences when it comes to a job like that, But sometimes in acceptance, I have to accept the time till you grow to a point where you're on time now. So I have a desire that a person would grow to be on time. I have that desire that they would do those things, but they would have to get in there and do that. So that's an acceptance that we're doing, and I'm only using that for an example. It could be many other things, like I said again, that you can fill in the blank on what that is. But until that person can get there, we have to have the mercy and the acceptance to do that. And when you're talking about one another, and that's part of it, So I accept you, but also I'm a person that, say, if we're using this same analogy here, I'm a person that be on time. So you may have to accept that too. And I can't be able, if I'm a person that's not on time, then, he just want to be on time. He just want, I have to be willing to accept that too, so it goes both ways. And I think many a times, a lot of things has to go both ways. Now, I want to interject this here. This question here is, if you guys can think about this, what are some of the hindrance that the things that we do most of the time doesn't go both ways? Other words, why is sometimes things are one-sided that you may think of. We may not like I say, have the ultimate answer here, but we'll just deal with some of the answer is why is things one-sided sometimes? And then if we can go through that, then I maybe could help myself to make sure that I won't be one-sided. Why is it, sometimes things are one-sided like that? Whether, with relationships, being in the community, being married. What are some of the ideals that you guys think that may be? What do you think there, Jedediah?
Just with my experience, I see that with some, it may be someone may just be stuck in a certain way, and they're not willing to give up. They're not
Okay,
willing to
okay.
yield anything at all. So sometimes that's where we will find that place set right there. But also, um, one thing I learned from my brother here is there's a difference between belief and truth. I'm not about to yield to the truth. I yield to belief, but when it comes to the truth, that's something I have to stand on. And I see that's another thing that you may see a division in, and rightfully so. But when we're talking about those who are stuck in this stronghold, um, it may be something that they have done their whole life. And
Good,
I
good.
know I said earlier about not willing to change. But eventually someone will eventually get there, or you hope that they will when they're willing to change. But it's just so many factors that comes into play, especially when you're dealing with so many people from different communities. When you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, it's going to be bumping heads.
Oh yeah.
You're going to find that it's going to happen, um, especially when you come from a certain place. Like for instance, we use the term, I'm from another side of the tracks. So of course, we're not going to see things the same. But I'm stuck where I'm at because all I saw it was like this over here. And I'm not even trying to consider your way. I'm not even trying to listen to how you see it. But it's like, look, I was in the trenches. This is the way it was. I grew up like this. I'm speaking of myself. Oodles and hot dogs. I didn't have much. I didn't have like a good meal every night. But you did. So you don't understand where I'm coming from. And then I can stay stuck there, or I can try to cross that track and see how that person is viewing it, because that person has a different lens on. And let me put those lenses on and see if we can come to some type of agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, good, good. What do you think there, my brother?
Praise Yah. Oh man, brother, you really said it. That's a lot. That is definitely a lot. And Moray, if I could say, this one-sided thing is a big. It's big. So there's just it's huge. It's kind of one of those things that they say the elephant in the room. Like you don't know it's there until someone brings it up.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we
exactly.
have a lot of different ways of relationship. There's a lot of different kind of people, right? So when I'm thinking about what makes things one-sided, I got like a little list in my mind. Is sometimes like my brother just brought up right there, was the first thing that came to my mind was their upbringing. So most of the time, people portray the relationships they had growing up. So whether you had the common or the abnormal, those are going to be the things you put off in your relationship. Like I grew up as a military brat. So the longest friendship I ever had was just a couple of years. So when people talk about, hey man, you remember back when we was in third grade? I can't say that to anyone, like I can't relate. And even the people that I did know in those grade periods and those relationships, time, going to different duty stations, you really can't keep those friendships. So sometimes the way, someone was brought up, say if you had abusive parents, say if you had absent parents, there's all sorts of different things. Those things are going to show up and make relationships one-sided because you're going to end up treating people the way you were treated. The past experiences are really going to play a big deal in there And the one I'm thinking about the most is like previous hurts. Sometimes people take out their hurt on someone who's not guilty. So that can make things one-sided really easily, and it may be ingrained in their personality, so it's not something people do intentionally, but it really does lead to one-sided relationships. Then this is the one I find interesting, because this is what hit me in the face when I came into the walk, is what I call the information gap. Sometimes you only, and I sent you a video on this one more. Sometimes you only know a certain amount, and the amount you know, you consider it the source of all the information on a topic
Hmm.
until you come across somebody who knows more. And when you come across someone who knows more, it may humble you, and or it may strike you, and you want to exalt yourself. So the information gap can be a problem and make the relationship one sided, because sometimes we have to know when to learn, when we're the student, and when we're in the presence of an expert, a teacher, a master, somebody has more. So we got to know when we don't know enough, and then we have to know, when we think we know too much. There's a difference, and that makes things one-sided, because you may teach somebody on um, painting or shading, and like as an artist, shading is awesome, and you're trying to teach people about smudging and everything, and that may be the only form of shading, and then here comes this person. They lay it down, and next thing you know, there's a whole level of shading you had never experienced, but in their humility they entertain your level of knowledge. But are we willing to also show the same for people who know what they're talking about, maybe have a little bit more experience? And I think another thing, at least something that I could say for myself personally with making things one-sided, is sometimes you got to know where you start. So not having a place to start or a standard in the relationship, what some people call the norm, that can really make it one-sided, because you may put somebody in the friend zone and they're like, no, just treat me like a stranger. So it may be weird for that individual. They may consider you, oh, you're being overly friendly. We're like, oh, okay, well, how,
Hmm.
not knowing how to tone it down, not knowing what's too much. Sometimes I get in situations, and I'm a big guy, so when people are near me and they're smaller than me, it's just like natural for people to just keep touching you on the shoulder or something. It's just, that's what happens when you're big. A lot of people, they put their hands on you. So sometimes people don't know where to start. It's like, hey, I'm a stranger. Keep your hands to yourself, or whatever it is. But that can be weird. And in doing so, you create habits, which I think is another issue that makes things one-sided. So this is how I always do it. Well, that may not be the right way.
Hmm.
You
Right,
may
right, right.
end up doing
Good.
something that's inappropriate, or like I just said, too far, or making people uncomfortable. It's difficult. It's really difficult. That's why, to me, I said this thing's huge. And in doing so, we just have to show that we can be willing to learn, and setting expectations, showing appreciation, and be willing to mold each other to accept each other's differences. I think is the key to overcoming the one-sided thing, like you laid out so great, Moray, is that, yeah, not trying to change people's hearts, minds, visions, ideas, interpretations, but then at the same time, like my brother was saying, not compromising over the word, and
Right.
knowing the difference between, is this misinterpretation, or is this different way of seeing things, is that going to lead someone into death? And knowing the difference between, am I going to speak up right now because I see it different, or is their interpretation or the way that they're seeing things, is that going to cause them harm? And knowing the difference, it takes wisdom.
Right, right, absolutely. Man, that's good, outstanding, outstanding, and that's one of the things that we are trying to do as we take this particular journey through this power of the community, and we taking each step here is most times when we talk about these titles, subjects, or whatever it may be, it is broad. And so what we are trying to do is narrow at least some of it down, right? In order for us to be with one another, right? The love, the acceptance, and all of that. One of the things that, let me see if I can pull this up, there in John 13, and 34, it's talking about a renewed commandment I give to you, that you love one another, So that this was the really where we start at in that, as I have loved you. Now, most times I read that, and they was presently knowing how the Mashiach loved them, right? So what we do is we look back into it because we know from Torah on it has always been there, right? And so this here is a reminder to us that this is something that we must do. The reason that I know how to love someone else in the covenant, because when you come, say, if you grew up in the covenant is one thing. If you come into it, then you may bring this how I loved you and loving one another differently, right? So those that's there in the covenant, that's one thing that we make sure that we do not cause others to stumble. If we do not apply love to their lives, we're going to cause them to stumble. If some of the things, if they have to be correct in every area, you're going to cause them to stumble. You have to, like you say, give them room in those things. Now, we always dealing, I think Jedediah echoed it as you, as well as you, my brother, is we talking about now there is a truth, right? There is a truth. But we also, we talking about the things of walking it out and building you up in the things of the Father. Then this is where we want to be patient in. And it says that you also love one another. So what I'm saying is you need an example of love and know in order to know how to produce that. So somebody has to give you, if you allow me to say, those seeds of love, of how I loved you. And so as we read about the things of the Mashiach, we find out how love, the character of the Father, how to love, the character have others, the forefathers, how they dealt with different things, is what we take that same residue and do it the same way. You understand? So when we look at that, we learn from those things. So if those things are in there for us, what not to do is in there too, as well as what to do. A lot of people focus on what to do, but it's a lot of stuff in there is telling us what not to do. And so we have to rightly divide the word of truth. We always have to do that. And so when we look at it, we must know that we have to love one another. It's just no way getting around that. But sometimes it says, as how I loved you. And I know many times that we say the Mashiach loves and he loves everybody and da 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 da. What is that really about? How has he loved you? Those are some of the things that you can maybe seek out for the rest of the week or something like that. What are some of the things that what is it? What is it? How did the Father put out his love on us from the beginning? What are some of the things in the beginning? Love was always there. The acceptance, what we're talking about, the acceptance was there. The Father, if you want to know, we have it all the way through. And so it is our life. It is our life. The love and accepting one another is our whole life. And we have to know that and really, really be able to get that out. And 35, the latter of 35 again said, and if you have love for one another, that we have love for one another. And so I'm just kind of putting out, we'll be marching that one another in. And hopefully that will stick in our head that it cannot be one-sided. It cannot be one-sided, right? So the love that's there, it causes us to go those extra mile, or what we would say, to do the things that we do. One of the things I want those that are listening or may got this far in this is the fact that, one of the things is whatever you do, you're going to get joy if you do it through love, right? When you do it through love, I want you to, let me see something here, just for a second. When you do something through love, and I have kind of got this over the years, there's really a good shalom in this, right? When you do it through love, when you do it through understanding, when you do it through acceptance, it is so much easier, right? the stress level and everything else would go. Yes, you would have those thoughts about maybe why me, why I'm going through this. And sometimes we don't understand, even in our persecution, how can you do that? How do you love enemies through this? Right? How do you love that? How do I love how do I do this? Right? And so there is a way, but if we can get a hold to this love and this acceptance and trying to do the best for all of mankind as well as those of us that are in unity together, we the one has to carry. One of the things that the Mashiach had said, he said that people, those around us, and then with one another, even our children, would know, right, that we belong to the Father because we love one another. And so I just want you to kind of, I want to end here on tonight, and we're gonna keep going. It's probably be more than just one or two, but until we get through each one, right, and we'll maybe tackle the next week, praying for one another. We may bring that through. But I want us to understand and really, really put it in our heart, because this is something that is needed in our day. It was always needed, right? But in order for you to get through this, you're going to have to run so much through love. And we're going to need one another. This is a time. There is time out for the bickering, the fighting, the all of that. This love that the Father has for the world, this love that was brought to us, this love that the Father has opened up to us, that we be able to share it with others. Let us continue to go through the eyes of love. And so I want us to understand and meditate on those things. And next week, maybe if we have a chance and the Father say the same, we'll deal with a little bit about praying for one another. So, brother, thank you, gentlemen, for being with us, being together, should I say. And it's so much of a joy to have you here and to build on this. And it really, each time I rehash it, I always find something that in my life that I need and to practice. And it's always good to hear. It's always good to hear. We're going to keep running this until we run out through this. But I think sometime I didn't want to rush it. And from week to week, we'll see how much this will be. But we'll keep going. We're going to keep going because we proclaim this every Shabbat. But I think it's good for us to also rehearse it and then practice, put it into practice, on what we heard on tonight. Those of you that's still with us, we appreciate you so very much, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, brothers, again, and we'll close it out and look forward to seeing you real soon. Hallelujah.